So I'm coming to you a day early this week, gearing up for Independence Day, but we have some great interviews for you. We have more evidence on one of my theories, a comeback in both HBAR and Hedera USDC, and much more. Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, here once again to bring you the latest in the Hedera ecosystem. But as always, none of this is financial advice. Use it for entertainment or educational purposes only. So to start, as I've been pounding the table on, Hedera and the HBAR will resonate with the broader investing public more than people know. And I think this is going to shock the crypto bubble that we find ourselves in. So a great example of the clean slate we'll be working with is a post I saw from Nate Gerasi. Nate is an ETF expert and president of Nova DS Wealth Management, who primarily creates low-cost, diversified ETF portfolios for their clients. This post said, "We'll see what happens when the spot ETFs are approved, but the XRP army are way more passionate than I think most people realize. If I had to rank passion based on my experience on this platform," he put Bitcoin at number 1, XRP at number 2, HBAR at number 3, Ethereum at 4, and Solana at 5. So by market cap, you have the number 1 crypto, the number 4 crypto in XRP, then HBAR sitting at 21, ETH at number 2, and Solana at number 6. So Hedera is the only token that he's paying attention to here that isn't in the top 6. And of course, most of us here are in it for the returns. And if Nate is an indicator for his clients and other new investors that will be entering the space, HBAR is sitting pretty. Now, I know he's talking about passion here, but to put HBAR in the top 5, no matter what the topic, is pretty crazy. That said, for somebody in traditional finance, it makes perfect sense. But this leads us to the question, why would he think HBAR should be so high on this list? Well, first, he's paying attention to his business, ETFs, and HBAR is one of only 9 tokens with a likely chance to get one of those this year. I also have a feeling that the Hedera vision, the counsel, and strategy resonates with him. So HBAR content is more likely to show up in his timeline as he engages with it more. And that's just what these social media platforms do. As you get interested in something, it's going to feed you more of it. He may have engaged with one Hedera post, and it feeds him a little bit more, so he engages with those, and so on, until he sees how much passion is in the Hedera space. And of course, he did put Bitcoin at the top. That's not surprising. And XRP, which is number 4 on the CoinMarketCap list, is above Hedera. But come on, we're talking about the returns that we could potentially see here. So they can only go so much higher. They can't get any higher on the list. The entire crypto market, of course, is going to move up. But if we're talking about relative performance, Hedera is in a great spot if it's going to start competing with these other networks. And Nate highlighted another of this group of capital allocators who might give you an idea how aggressive they might be. His name is Rick Edelman, who manages $300 billion. In a paper, Rick advocated for conservative investors to allocate 10% into crypto, those in the moderate camp 25%, and a whopping 40% for aggressive investors. Now, I'm kind of in between a millennial and a Gen Xer, and I would say I'm pretty aggressive with crypto, and I don't even have 40% of my assets in the space. So while investors in these generations may not have been super aggressive compared to the younger generations to this point, that might change once the ETFs come to market. As I've been repeating over and over, the reason that the HBAR ETF excites me so much is because it will expose this network to a whole new group of people who might not be willing to go out to a crypto exchange and buy these tokens at spot, but if it shows up in the form of an ETF in their brokerage account, they'll certainly dip their toe in. And many of this early majority is going to be Generation X and boomers with plenty of money, of which Kevin O'Leary is one.
I would agree with you on that one. Most underrated crypto project right now.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have to say, but I'm talking my book here. I think HBAR is going to be big. I really do.
HBAR, that's one in our portfolio as well. And we're very excited about
I own it, so I have to disclose that. But I think it's going to be big.
No, absolutely. I would agree with you on that one.
Hedera is going to be big in the years to come because it speaks the language of this next wave of investors that's going to be entering the crypto space. And while we're speaking about connections with TradFi, the MiCA Crypto Alliance, which Hedera joined, put out an HBAR MiCA white paper. The paper was developed to meet the disclosure obligations set out in Article 5 and 6 of MiCA. It includes token classification and release schedule, legal and governance framework, environmental data across 31 indicators, and staking and network design. For exchanges that have not yet listed HBAR, the requirement to publish a MiCA-compliant white paper is already in effect. The Alliance said this marks a significant step towards the advancement of transparency, education, and responsible token access within the Hedera ecosystem across the European market. Now, these kinds of developments might not matter to the current crypto retail investor, the degens out there, but for the new investors that I expect to enter this space, they are going to put a lot more stock into things like compliance. Shifting gears on here, we take the good with the bad, and the past few weeks we reported a couple new Hedera council members, including Arrow Electronics and Blockchain for Energy. This week we have to thank WorldPay for their service because they are going to be leaving the Hedera Governing Council. Hopefully that deep pipeline that Rob keeps talking about is going to add some new council members here before too long. And even though Rob is out of pocket right now, we're going to get his take on all this as soon as we possibly can. In the meantime, let's shift over to Hedera DeFi. There's a new player in that space that's going to be launching before too long, and that's Orbit. So we have Juno today from Orbit. We've been seeing a lot of stuff on social media about what they're doing, but I wanted to get some more details. Juno, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Juno, it's absolutely my pleasure. To kick this off, can you just kind of tell us what Orbit is?
Yeah, Orbit at its core is an up-and-coming trading platform. And a trading platform to me is kind of something that consolidates a lot of different maybe solutions that people use when trading into kind of like one space so that they don't have to have multiple browsers open when they're trading.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So are you kind of aggregating the different things we have built on Hedera, like Bonzo and all the different dexes and all that kind of stuff? How's it work exactly?
I don't want to use the term aggregating because I know a couple other people are using aggregating. And to me, aggregating is like an automated thing where a solution or a provider chooses the best option for you. We're not necessarily doing that. We are just providing all of the options. So people can trade on any DEX. We're going to work to implement every DEX kind of into Orbit. But we're not choosing routes for users. We're just offering all of the routes that exist on the network to every user. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. So what gaps did you see in the Hedera DeFi ecosystem that you looked at and you felt like it needed to be filled?
Yeah, I mean, the most notable one from like a standards level to other networks is like limit orders and just kind of more advanced market orders for barbarians or H-barbarians on the network. Like there's only Diffused Labs right now that's offering a order book, and that's great, but we need more options. Like every network has probably 5 to 6 to 7 different ways to do this. So it's great that we have one option, but that was one big gap that we wanted to fill. And then, yeah, I mean, there isn't really this kind of cohesive trading platform that exists on the network. And if you go look at Solana, they have like 3 to 4 different trading platforms that are all kind of slightly different. Maybe some are catered more towards like stocks or a stock exchange type of TradFi UX. Some are more degenerate that are focused heavily on like pump fun or meme job type of stuff. We want to kind of cater to both. I think HBAR and the HBAR community is a really exciting community because we have really kind of more serious toned people on the network, investors that want to invest in tech, that want to invest in like blue chip or real companies. But then you also do have the retail scene that wants to make money where they can make money. So Orbit's great because we can kind of deliver both. And that's kind of one thing that we're focused on is we want, like I predict that HBAR and the HBAR network is going to have a lot of new users specifically interested in real world assets moving forward. And in my opinion, Orbit has a great opportunity to kind of deliver access to like a constantly updating feed of these RWA projects. So we want those to be easily accessible for those crowds. But we also want to be able to kind of scan meme job 24/7 so that retail can get in on the earliest token as soon as it launches. So we want to cater to both because I think both crowds that are going to be on the network are totally valid. So
makes perfect sense. So the next thing I want to get into, you mentioned the limit orders. I want to know a little bit about the future of Orbit and what your vision is. So what are some of the features that we're going to have initially? And then what's your plan for the roadmap and the future of Orbit?
Yeah, so we're launching with limit orders, instant buy features that hasn't really been done on the network yet. So like if you click buy, it's just going to buy. There's no pop-ups. You don't have to approve the transaction. And that's kind of something that as our own internal wallet, which is non-custodial, we kind of had to and got to choose, what does a trading wallet actually have to do? Hashpack and a lot of solutions on the network right now kind of already, I don't want to say like they are secure and they are operating exactly how they should for the average user. But when you're trading, it's like, do I actually need to approve this transaction? Do I actually need to tell my wallet to approve this or to give allowance to this when time is of the essence? And it's like, no, we can kind of just code it in a way that you don't have to see that or do that. And we can only do that because we're a trading wallet. I would never do something like that if we were trying to be like an ecosystem wallet or a wallet for the average user. That's a little bit too kind of wild, wild west. But for trading, we can do things like that to facilitate a faster trading experience. So there's that. We're launching with that. Points and leaderboard, so kind of gamifying what trading can be and kind of giving like a social competition edge to it. Users can kind of farm and accrue points. Those points can be used as rewards, or it's kind of vague what the points can be used for, but because we're using a point system, we can do a lot of cool things with that. So that's exciting. And then in the future of Orbit, we want to continue to onboard and integrate into every DEX solution on the network. So, meme job is happening basically right after we go launch. I think our backend Solidity developer is already jumping on it because he just finished some of this current Sprint stuff. So he's already getting started ahead on meme job integration, Silk Swap, H Suite, all of the DEXs. We want to integrate with everyone. So that's kind of on the roadmap. Like staking, we want to offer staking for our token down the road internally. I really like Dobu's liquid staking mechanism. I've always loved it. I think it's phenomenal. So we'll probably do something like that. ERC support, cross-chain support. We are thinking down the road for sure about maybe expanding over to Base, XRP. We'll see. It's kind of hard. Like I don't, stepping into a saturated network like Solana, that's crazy. They already have the solutions. But filling this same gap that exists on other maybe smaller networks is something that we could look into. Other features, multi-wallet support. I kind of want to do it, which is kind of just letting users in Orbit trade with multiple wallets, maybe at the same time. So rather than hit buy and you only buy 100 HBAR into one token, you're doing that on 3 wallets at the same time. So it kind of lets people just trade at a more kind of large level. We want to bring our data in-house, which will be happening very soon, especially after, I don't know if you saw Dex Screener going offline for the last 24 hours. That is a really good opportunity for us to bring our data in-house and provide our own charting, which would never, we wouldn't go down like Dex Screener goes down. And so we will be doing that at some point. And then that kind of lets us do more heady chart overlays, which is really good data visualization when trading. So there's a lot of freedom and a lot of cool things that we can do once we bring the data fully in-house. We have features lined up until October, I think. So we're pretty committed to just continuing to build out the full scope of what we wanted to accomplish with Orbit and beautifying as we do that.
It seems like you aren't necessarily happy with where we are right now in the Hedera DeFi ecosystem, but you're passionate about what the potential is. What's your outlook for the Hedera DeFi space as a whole?
I'm super bullish. Again, all of the builders that I've been talking to for the last probably 2 months, ever since Consensus, the Consensus was last May, but if you're building on the network right now and you've been building on the network, you, I think, are firmly aware of how much it's changed and how much it's improved. There are so many different facets to a healthy DeFi ecosystem that were not on the network maybe 2 years ago, last cycle, 4 years ago. But right now, today, they're almost all here. We have Bonzo, we have stablecoin liquidity, USDC booming. Crazy good things are happening for the ecosystem, and it's all happening at the same time. Kind of, it's like a culmination of efforts, right? It started with Saucer Swap getting built. That was step one of DeFi existing on the network. And since that moment, every different kind of mechanism, in my opinion, that's needed for a really healthy DeFi boom has been built and has been kind of implemented. So I'm super bullish. I think HBAR and the network as a whole has never been this close to having the training wheels off, let's say. And that's really exciting. I think Bonzo will continue to see the success that they have. And in my opinion, I think collateral lending is genius. I think it's one of the best things about DeFi, and moving liquidity into the ecosystem, growing it, letting people then have more liquidity to then go play in the ecosystem. It's phenomenal. So, just having Bonzo alone actually exist, I think, is a huge catalyst for DeFi. And then we've got really cool things like Origin coming, and that's crazy. Letting retail get in at IPO prices, that's just a sweet freaking gig. So I think there's a lot of cool things that are coming around on HBAR. And then Orbit, obviously. It's exciting. We're in addition to Orbit and Bonzo and all these companies, we're trying to facilitate what a mature DeFi ecosystem looks like. And we are very close to that. And I think that can only benefit the average person on the network when they have all of these different kind of realms of DeFi to then play in. We're really excited about that.
So, Juno, what are some of the next steps and how are people going to be able to get involved?
Yeah, I think the best way to get involved is to come join the Discord. We are there me and Weston are there all the time. We're doing a really good job of keeping it updated with like links, resources to the latest information. What's coming next? We are finishing our sprint in about 13 days. We should be going live in about 13 days. And then, yeah, users will be able to go in. Originally, we thought we were going to gate access to the platform behind the NFTs that we have. We're not doing that. We're just going to open it up to the public in 13 days. And we're really happy about that. The NFTs are kind of built for like the power user. So if you end up in Orbit and you're trading a lot, if you get the fully maxed out rewards through the NFTs, you're actually getting the cheapest swaps on the network by like 0.3%, which is pretty significant. I think if you're trading directly in Saucer Swap, it's about a 0.5 or a 0.47% swap fee when you're using their front end UI. If you go into Orbit, it's only a 0.2. So, for high velocity or high volume traders, that totally adds up over time. So that's a pretty sweet gig.
All right. No, that sounds good to me. I'm looking forward to the platform. It looks beautiful. I saw that trailer. I'll put that throughout this entire video. We appreciate your time coming on here today, telling us about the platform, and good luck.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
So I really enjoyed that conversation with Juno. I think he's hitting the nail on the head with several of the things that he talked about. And of course, it's going to be great to have a new interface to interact with our Hedera DeFi ecosystem. I have another DeFi team that's going to be entering the space that we have an interview with a little bit later on. But in the meantime, let's get into some Hedera gaming. Legends of the Past put out a great clip of their gameplay, and HBAR can sign up for early access to play now. LOP has been grinding for a long time, and it sounds like they're in talks with Binary Holdings, which could expose them to hundreds of millions of people in Southeast Asia. Legends of the Past is also one of the sponsors that volunteered to support the upcoming Karate Combat prize pool, and we got some information that it's going to be a crazy event. It's going to span over 2 days, July 18th and 19th. There's going to be 4 championships and an 8-man heavyweight tournament. Now, I've teased a little bit that there's going to be something in those live streams that is going to get HBAR really excited. I'm really looking forward to it. If when you see it, you think that you know any teams that might be interested in doing something similar, absolutely have them get in touch with me. As we're on events, I'm going to be going to Las Vegas to the Rare Evo 2025 event repping the Hedera ecosystem. It's going to be at Caesar's Palace on August 8th and 9th. If there's going to be any HBAR there, or you're just in the area and might be interested in attending, just let me know down there in the comments. I also want to give an update on the African Hackathon we've been talking about that's being put on by the Hashgraph Association and Exponential Science. As if the prize pool wasn't already impressive enough, they have onboarded another investor. There's going to be an extra perk for the winners of $1 million of investment that could follow on in addition to the $1 million prize pool. Obviously, we haven't had any hackathons in the Hedera ecosystem that have come anywhere close to having $2 million worth of capital flow through it. And with that kind of money up for grabs, I'm expecting to attract all kinds of talent. And with that kind of support, you could see some serious applications to follow. Sticking with Africa, we have a new builder that's entering this space with Shamba Records. I caught up with George, their CEO, to give us the inside track. Today, we welcome the CEO and founder of Shamba Records. George, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brandon, for having me. It's a great honor just to be here.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure. George, I'll be honest, when I first saw Shamba Records, I thought we were going to be getting another music application within the Hedera space. And while I love all the music applications and the things that are happening in the music industry alongside Hedera, I was pleasantly surprised to learn about what you're actually doing. Can you give us an overview of Shamba Records and the impact that it's having in the African region?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brandon. We normally get that about Shamba Records. Everybody thinks it's a music or maybe a podcast company, but actually we are a very different company, and we are solving one of the most pressing needs and challenges that's there globally. And actually what we do at Shamba Records, we're bridging the $300 billion digital gap in Africa's agricultural market And we're doing this by providing a traceability tool that's able to track data from the farm level to the aggregation all the way to the export market. And when we do that, Brandon, we're able to unlock and automate a number of key essential services to the farmers. One of them is providing a farmer wallet, which is able to cut down the payment period from 90 days to just a single minute to the farmers. Besides that, we're able to provide a credit scoring engine that's able to score smallholder farmers and also unlock new credit line opportunities for these farmers. And lastly, we're able to provide market linkages to the farmers. So making sure whatever they produce, they're able now to get a ready market. And so far, our impact has been very, positive to the farmers. We have seen an increase of about 30% in terms of their incomes, in terms of also their yields. And so far, we're able to reach more than 50,000 producers in our solution. But you may ask yourself a very important question. Why are we doing this? And actually, one of the interesting facts, Brandon, is that Africa is the highest growing population continent. We're looking by the year 2050, the actual population of Africa will be about 2.5 billion people. When you're looking about 2.5 billion people, that means you have to increase the food production capacity. You have to provide new lines or new financial lines so that the farmers can be able to produce more. And you'll be shocked to know that only 4% of the total commercial credit goes to the farmers. And that's why Shamba Records, we're doing all this to be able to prepare for the future, provide credit line opportunities. And one more thing is that right now we have seen that the new regulations that have been put in place, whereby African exporters, whether you're exporting to Europe or maybe many other parts of the world, you have to prove that these goods came from maybe a sustainable farming area. And that we're helping all these companies to be able to be compliant in policies such as the EUDR, just to make sure that they're able to meet that. So that's what you did. Very different from a music production company, but solving real needs and also helping the continent to grow and also connecting the continent to other different parts of the world. Yeah.
Well, I can see many areas where Hedera could help in your mission. What made you choose the Hedera network, and how exactly are you using the Hedera network?
So as a scaling company, you have to look at what are the partners or who are the partners you can work with. And Hedera was able to tick many boxes for us because we are looking at a partner who can help us to be able to scale and a partner who has low latency levels. And as you look at the sector that we are actually working on, that's the agriculture sector. It's very high transactional. There's a lot of volumes. We're talking about being able to record farmer harvest. We're talking about being able to process payments to the farmers, being able to run a scoring engine to the farmers, being able to link the farmers to the buyers. So we are looking at so many transaction instances. So we had to look for a very high, low latency level. And again, the gas fees. And that's one of the key things because Hedera has that near zero fees. And that works so well with us. And that made us that even in our growth journey, we will not be worried about the infrastructure, will not be worried about the costing. So that's why we're able now to use Hedera. And we're using Hedera in multiple ways, but I'll be able to highlight the three key areas. Number one is the on-chain traceability. We're able to use the Hedera filing system, whereby we make sure each and every collection is backed up by a blockchain ID. And when this harvest collection is collected from the farmers, even to the point of aggregation, we're able now to put that aggregation on a batch ID that can be able now to be used on the Hedera network. So we're using it on-chain traceability, whereby you can trace from the source to the aggregation all the way to the market. And number two, in our use case, is providing the farmer wallet. And the farmer wallet, so whereby the farmers can be able now to get instant payments and cutting the period from 90 days to just instant payments and providing a highly quick and speed ways of making farmers receive their payments. And besides that, the other opportunities that we're using on Hedera is that we're exposing farmers to the carbon credit market. And one of the requirements for carbon credits to be able to verify the origin of those carbon credit. And that's how we are using And again, we're not just limited to that. We're just exploring different opportunities and ways of really maximizing the network.
George, I'm really curious about the payments. So I just want to know what that flow looks like. Is it where, the commodities exchange itself sells whatever the asset is, and then that gets somehow transferred over to, or some of the value gets transferred to the farmers, and how does that get divided up? I'm just curious what that looks like in your framework.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Brandon, it's a very high volume transaction industry or sector. So the first transaction is when you're collecting the goods from the farmer. So that's the payment, the first payment area. And once before now we process the payments, we have to make sure that we're verified the quality of those goods as well as the quantity. Upon verification, we're able to publish that on the network. And then from that, then we can be able now to go ahead and do the payments to the farmers. But remember, at the end of the day, some farmers may not be able to get those instant payments because if the aggregator their work is to aggregate, is not to sell immediately. So that means there's a very whole payment delay. So for us as Shamba Records, we're able to provide a solution to that gap, whereby instead of the farmers waiting for a long time, and since we have been able to verify the source, as well as we've been able to verify the quality and the quantity, we can go ahead and provide like a simple credit or maybe a microcredit to these farmers. Yeah.
Is that being done with stablecoins?
Yeah. So right now, of course, we're dealing now with the real market, which is now it's making sure that you provide a way to the retail market. So we have to use stable coins and also just to be able to avoid a lot of fluctuations, especially with the different types of tokens. So right now it's just purely on stable coins and making sure that the farmer is able to receive what they're supposed to receive. Eventually, maybe later on in the future, we can be able to explore other tokens on other opportunities where farmers can be able even to earn from different tokens. Yeah.
Understood. So I was impressed looking at your website to learn the scale that you've already achieved. What do you attribute the success to this point, and what are your plans to expand in the future?
Yeah, thank you so much, Brandon. Yeah, I think the first thing that we always ask ourselves, this solution is meant to solve the farmer's need, and that's the answer that we had to answer to the farmer, and what led us to be able to make or customer make a solution is to be able to provide a hyper local solution to these farmers. What I mean by hyper local solution is that these farmers can be able to access even our solution offline. They don't need to have even a smartphone, and they don't need to understand that blockchain is running our engine. What they need to understand is this solution solving our needs, and how is it solving? So one of the channels that we had to provide is a very hyper local that can be able to provide a channel to the last mile user who is a farmer. But besides providing a channel which is hyper local, we had to make sure that the content or the information that the farmer is getting, it's very relevant to them. Because at the end of the day, the farmer has to ask themselves, why am I using this solution? If I'm using this solution, am I able to double my income? Am I able to increase my yields? So the goal was to be able to engineer the solution. Number one, to be very easily accessible. Number two, to be very key relevant to these farmers, whereby farmers, if they need information on advisory services, what kind of inputs they need to use, what kind of extension services they need to use, they could be able to get it on our solution. But besides that, we know we cannot be able to do all this alone. So we have to work with different partners. We've been able to partner with one of the leading government agencies, which has about 6.5 million users or producers. So the goal is to be able to scale our solution to these farmers and to help them increase their incomes and as well as increase their earnings. So it's a continuous journey of partnership and knowing the needs of our users.
Well, congratulations. I'm really impressed, as I said, to this point. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on before we let you go?
Yeah, Brandon, of course, we're continuously doing amazing stuff. Right now, we are running a very intensive and a great campaign, which we call the farmer coupons. These farmer coupons is just to be able to expose the farmers to the different parts of the markets and different parts of the world. And you can be able to buy like a farmer coupon, which stroke like an NFT, and support these farmers, whether it's an individual farmer, with a group of farmers, whether it's a community type of farmers. You can be able to participate this and see the real change that you can be able to deliver to these farmers. So if you want to know more details, just check out on our website, on our socials, and we'll be able now to get back to you just in case of any queries. But we welcome you to support this cause because we'll be able to change the world. Thank you.
Sounds like a fantastic initiative. Thank you so much for coming on today and telling us about Shamba Records, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you for having me. And it's a great honor. Thank you.
So both of our interviewees so far, George with Shamba Records and Juno with Orbit, mentioned stablecoins. And while I don't want to get too excited quite yet, we are seeing the stablecoin liquidity increase on the Hedera network after it crashed a few weeks ago. We're up to $125.6 million. And the reason why I don't want to get too excited is because we went last, I believe, October, we were down around $5 or $6 million. That moved up in steps. And just over a month ago, we were up to $214 million. Not sure if it's related, but we also saw a chunk of USDC deposited into the Bonzo Finance platform as well. This caused the lending rate to drop by 2/3 to about 4%. Obviously, this is frustrating for some of the lenders out there, but it's great for those that are borrowing, which is good for the health of Hedera DeFi as a whole. As I mentioned, we have another team that's entering the fold here in IvyFi, and I caught up with a couple of their co-founders to tell us about what's going on. So I managed to get the guys from IvyFi. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Jeremy, John, welcome.
Thanks for having us, Brandon. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks very much, Brandon. Really looking forward to this conversation. Really, really looking forward to it.
I am as well. Jeremy, we'll start with you. What made you guys want to start IvyFi?
So John and I have been in crypto a while. John more so than me since I think, he's 2017 XRP guy, I think. Is that correct? We've been a member of a lot of different communities and love DeFi, wanted to make something that's simple, first of all, for people to use. And I think there's a lot of cool tools, but there's a big barrier entry for people to get into DeFi. I feel like, they can do it if they want, but if it takes 2 or 3 steps, people are out. They don't want to do that anymore. So we wanted to make something super simple. We looked at Hedera because honestly, John and I are the biggest Hedera fanboys now. You look at the net, I know you are too, but like when you look at the network, I've told people over and over, people will use Hedera not because they want to, because they have to. There are certain use cases that you will only be able to use as we get down the path. You'll only be able to use Hedera for because of what's innate in the network. So we were started building on Hedera. We were looking at doing DeFi, and there's a lot of really good borrowing and lending, like with Bonzo. They're doing a great job, and there's a couple of other ones out there that are doing a really good job. And staking is kind of like the second step. Like people, they get a token, they figure out how to get a non-custodial wallet, and then like what the next step is really like staking to be able to earn on your coins. And so we thought, well, for us trying to make things simple, this is the natural thing for us to do, is make a simple staking platform that any HTS token, they can upload a pool with no upfront cost to their project. We have 2 different models, but that's one of the models, is they can just provide a percentage of their tokens to us as paid out as the stake is done. And that way they didn't pay to mint those tokens. It doesn't cost them. And it gives the user a simple way to earn on their tokens. And it's single-sided staking. There's a lot of liquidity providing and liquid staking and that kind of thing. But we want to keep it super simple. You find an asset that you believe in, you put that into staking with us, you get your returns, you get your rewards, and we're not locking anything up. Everything's dynamic staking too. So.
All right, well, John, let's get into this platform. What is it and how can it be used by users?
Yeah, so we've currently just launched our beta, which is what we're going to do is, so normally, a lot of people, they do INOs to raise funds and they can build applications or work out. For us, we don't need any funds at all. We've all paid for it all off our own backs through, current savings, jobs and lifestyles, and ultimately time. So literally the last year of us deciding that we wanted to do a project, doing the research. We actually built one ERC20, and then we changed when we moved, and then we had a look at how Hedera worked. And so our platform relay is, we think the biggest thing, one of the best things that Hedera does is NFTs, right? There's no way down, right? It's like amazing It's not just like most other networks where NFTs are just 8 big images. You've got proper artists, you've got games, you've got utility, you've got the whole like Hedera Foundation pushing standards to make this work. You've got, it's just such a space. And we were talking about like NFTs are evolving at such a thing. They're probably going to be called NFTs in a few years, right? Because they're just becoming this whole new thing. So we thought, what can we do? And Jeremy covered this really well. We're doing staking. We see that as the next step. We actually see NFTs as like a third step. So we thought, let's do a platform where anyone can stake. But when they stake, they get an NFT. So what we're doing is we're using like the Hedera SDK and the services built in Hedera. So then when people stake now, they on the return, they get an NFT receipt. So normally when you stake, something stores your data, whether that's a smart contract, a back-end database, something holds your data, right? Well, we don't hold your data. We actually write that entire thing to the Hedera network. So we don't hold any of your data. The NFT does, and the NFT is in your wallet, and that shows you when you staked, how much you staked, what you staked for. It's yours. And we're going on the thing, your keys, your wallet, your crypto, and now your ledger. So it's your NFT, your information. So what we're going to do is the normal people, when they're doing the next step of step 2, I want to do something with these tokens now I've bought. Not quite NFT yet. We're like, well, I know you're not quite NFT, but you've just got one for free, and it's got utility straight away. So, and we're like, that's how you link in. And then for projects, we want to bring them on and really it's what the project wants. That's ultimately where we're at. We're like, look, we've got these services. We want to use receipts with everything. But however you come on with, we're going to build the page for you and the staking service that makes for you. You want it fixed? We'll do it fixed. You want to do NFTs? We'll do NFTs. You want it dynamic? We'll do dynamic. And that's really where we're at. And we've done it slightly different with the beta because what we've done is we've released it to the public, and instead of going like testnet, mainnet, that's what it's going to be sort of tough. We've gone, no, right? We're further ahead than what we're releasing. So we're like, right, we've got this function. Let's leave it out to the community. Let them tell us whether it's right? Because we're a small echo chamber of people. Of course, we think it's good. We've done it, but we might be wrong, right? So we've got to say to the community, hey, look, you're the NFT degens here, right? You know what's going on. You know what's going on. We don't. We're just, you tell us what the best thing to do is. If this makes sense to you, then this will be the module. Then we do the next module. Does that make sense? Then we do the next. And we just launched an INO. We did well with the Governor Leaf NFTs. And the great thing about that is we've already got a group of people now who are invested into the project, both, with their NFTs now. And now we can turn around to them and go, now we've got a group of people that we know want to be a part of it, that have already tested it. And now as we grow, we can ask them questions as well as the open community. And that's what we're going to be doing a beta in phases and then, audits and everything else before mainnet.
Okay, so let's walk through the journey for both a token issuer and then somebody that might be holding the tokens. How's the platform going to be used? What does a token issuer do with their tokens? How do they get involved? And then somebody that might be holding the tokens, how would they interact with the IvyFi platform?
Yeah, so if you like, so you know about a token issuer like a project, right?
Yes.
So a project, they'll approach us in 2 ways, right? Eventually what we're going to have is what we like, the normal complete DeFi, don't know what you are, who you are, you can create your pool. We're going to put a little tag on that called Ivy, Ivy Frontier. And what that means is, look, that company is not aligned to us, but they're using our service. So, do your own research, massive disclaimers, right? A second model, which we believe most people will jump on, is like when we do an Ivy partnership. What that means is that between us and you, we'll make sure you've got a Sentinel report. We'll make sure you've been pen tested. Most of it's on the Sentinel report. For those who don't know what that is, it's like the Hedera standard. And it goes through checks, and it's on there. It's open. You can check what all the things the company's done, and it does it by color scheme of traffic light system. It's a fantastic report. So we're going to be enforcing that, and it's not for us to say they're bulletproof. It's just to say, look, they're due diligent. They've done their checks. They make more sense, and only them projects would we partner with to then give their own partner page. And their own type of staking. So what that gives a token issuer, a project, is their own unique page. It'll have very light IvyFi branding, so you can tell it, but most of it on there will be like their color scheme, their use case, and about them. So if you think of you go into a normal exchange, right? You click on a token, it pops up with all the token information and everything like that. That's where we've got our inspiration for, but for projects. And that's everyone from one person launching NFT to the biggest projects that are willing to come on the platform.
So, Jeremy, just to wrap this up, I'm just curious, what are the next steps for IvyFi and the people that want to get involved? What do they need to be looking out for?
Well, there's a couple ways you can get involved right now. One, we just launched yesterday our INO for our Founders Edition. governor leafs on Kabila. It's featured on the homepage of the Launchpad there. I'll tell you a little bit about what you get with that. It's $350 for the NFT. It gives you 1,000 IVFi tokens when we launch our ILO at that price, which is $150 worth of tokens. We're doing a model where we really want to give back to the people who support us. So 5% of all the revenue generated on the platform, as well as from our ILO, everything else will go into exclusive governor reward pools for those governors. It reduces fees on the platform. And one of the other things, we have a boost function where we're going to have these boost NFT cards where when you do a stake, say you're getting 4% back on HBAR for a month. If you have one of these boost cards, you get extra 2% back, and you throw that in the pool. And then when the pool's done, you get the boost card back. They're reusable. So it gives you 50% off the boost cards as well, and you can stack those. We're also going to be doing a lot of governor-led, community-led direction for the platform. Almost everything's going for a vote. We really want it to be community-led. So that's another huge thing. You know, everything from where we list tokens, if in the future we do go multi-chain down the road, like if you want to go on this chain, you tell us what chain, everything. So if we're even going to we're doing 100 NFTs right now, but we might release more, but that will always go to the governors to decide if they want to have more people in the governorship. So we're doing everything through them. So I'm super excited about that. So you can find that on the Kabila Launchpad. And then we're doing the beta test right now. If you want to get involved in that and check it out, we're doing it in phases. I'll throw it to John to talk a little bit more about what the phases look like. But if the best way to get involved with that is to go to our X account, our IVFi X account. And then there's going to be a pen post today that has all the instructions, all the details on it, the link to go and participate in the beta test. So, John, if you could talk a little bit about the way that the phases are going.
Yeah, so we've got like phase one, and it's quite clear like on exactly what we're showing. So instead of like, waiting another 2 or 3 weeks and having like all projects like, well, what's this? And we said, we want to keep our time critical as well. We said, look, we're thinking about NFT staking. It works on browser. We're like, you know what? Let people see it. Let people see it. We're going to put a big disclaimer. Look, it's just the browser version. We're optimizing mobile like this week anyway. I'm implementing the boost things this week. And then as we get to the next step, once the people are happy, we get feedback, then move on to phase 2. And then ultimately it's phase 3. So that's like the website, UI aligned and neatened, mobile aligned and neatened, boost packs. We've got Ivy Vault coming, which is like our joint authority, shared custody wallets. So you're like, your key, our key, we can't transact it without that. So make sure DeFi as possible. We've got to implement that as well. And all this is about building it modular and then releasing it to them to go, hey, does this work? Like, is it too many clicks? Like, is this too complicated? And there's always that thing of how much clicks and security do you want versus user input, right? That's always a developer's thing. So, and I think we'd rather leave that to choice where we leave IV5 Vault for everyone, or we just say, look, it's a one signature up to you, or we do multi. It's entirely up to how this comes back and the user interface. And ultimately, when we get our report right, or our security report back, and they go to us, hey guys, fix this, fix that, which is the last phase. Then once it's good to go and we have the platform, goes in for a security check, it's going to come back. We're going to fix every single point possible, and then and only then will we go mainnet. And we'll probably still put that out for a governor vote as well, because we don't want to be making big decisions like that when we've just said to everyone, we've got you guys to help us out with decisions. So when we're ready, we'll let them decide. And if they go, we want another feature before it goes, then we'll put another feature in. That's how we work in this.
Well, I love what I'm hearing. I think it's great that we're bringing more tools into the ecosystem. Thanks for coming on today, telling us about IVFi, and thanks for building on Hedera.
You got it. Thanks, Brandon. We appreciate it.
And with that, let's jump into some network analysis and the HBAR market. No real change in throughput, still cruising at about 10 TPS. Time to consensus finality is at 2.5 seconds. Revenue is a bit higher with around $2,000 over the past 24 hours. Hourly active accounts are up as well to between 500 and 600, and we created 24,000 accounts this week. Moving over to the crypto and HBAR market, Bitcoin is up slightly on the day and 2.2% on the week to just under $110,000. Alts finally followed, and HBAR shined more than most, up 3.4% on the day and 12% on the week to 15.9 cents. I still think we could drift between 12 and 20 cents until the ETFs start getting approved, when in my opinion we're going to see a strong leg up, but you never know. The next major area of resistance for the HBAR is at 18.5 cents. We have support at 14.5 cents and stronger support at 12. Looking forward to next week, I have some really good interviews lined up with PwC, Circle of Games, and Mingo. Hopefully we're going to get Rob back. I already have plenty of questions for him in the backlog, so we're not going to ask for any more questions. For all the people in the US, happy 4th of July. And for anybody that's in the UK, we're sorry for your loss.